And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, I'm Darren, and welcome to 8th Day Chronicles here at Cross Timbers Farm. Glad to have you with us today here on the farm on this absolutely beautiful day the Lord's made. It's mid to late August, and we still have not cut our second cuttings on the main field, the portion we're going to cut, and the west field. We got some hay in that west field that's a little bit of it that has folded, and more of it's starting to. And you may be looking today at this gorgeous, beautiful day the Lord's blessed us with and say, Darren, why in the world ain't you cutting hay? Today is deceptive. It has been rainy, beautiful for a few days, rainy for a few days, beautiful, and on and on and on. This time of year, our dews of the mornings are so heavy. It almost looks like rain when you come out of the mornings. We come out every morning early, right around daybreak or a little after, to let the chickens out of the coop, because we shut our chickens up every night. And the reason we do is predators. And speaking of predators, I'll get to that in a minute. But the dews are so heavy in the mornings, and we've been having a lot of foggy mornings. Have you heard the old wives' tale count how many foggy mornings you have in August, and that's how many snows you're going to get through the winter? If that holds true, we're going to get pounded this year. And I'm not much on superstition and no wives' tales. But if that holds true, we're going to get lit up this winter with snow, because we've had heavy, foggy mornings. It seems like 2 out of 3 mornings here through August has been foggy. And that heavy fog is a result of a lot of the dews and the moisture coming out of the ground, dew falling, all that stuff. And here it is almost 11 a.m. and I just walked out here a minute ago. My boots are still wet from the grass. But yesterday was a beautiful day. The day before was a beautiful day. But tomorrow, the rain chances are like 56%, and the next day they're like 74%. The next third day, they're like 80%. Then it drops back down, and we're watching that rain chances dropping really close. Let's see what Fernando says. Let's go to, I hear he's getting ready to live stream. Howdy folks, I'm your local expert meteorologist, Fernando Huentes, and here is your forecast. If you're a farmer and you need a forecast for getting in your row crops or harvesting your silage or cutting your hay, here is a 100% accurate forecast for today and tomorrow, and really forever, as long as this earth is here. My expert forecast is, are you ready? It's going to clear off cloudy and come a dry drizzle. Folks, that's 100% accurate. Now, back to our local sports reporter. Okay, we just got Fernando's forecast, and I'd say he's right. Lola says it's a beautiful day too. And he says that Fernando's right also. Ain't that right, Lola? Lola, is Fernando right? Yeah, he says right. Okay, that's the reason we've not cut hay. We just have some beautiful days and then some rain days. And we're thankful for the beautiful days, and we're thankful for the rain days. Take it all into consideration of what the good Lord deems this earth needs. So we're going to smile and keep going. We may have a window to cut next week, and I sure hope so, because that hay needs cut. It's starting to fold. And our main field will start folding soon too if we don't get it cut. So we're looking forward to that. I mentioned earlier that we lock our chickens up at night. We come out every evening and collect the chicken feeders out of the runs, collect our eggs, And about dusk, when the chickens go into the coop, we close the door and lock it. And we come out very early the next morning about daylight. Usually Lola's in the coop crowing, saying, let me out, let me out. And about daylight, we come out and we let them out for the day. They stay in the run for about half the day until about noon. The reason we do that is I don't want to be out here under every bush, under every trailer, farm trailer that we have, things like that, hunting for eggs, like on an egg hunt. I don't like that. We have found that our hens, if you kind of get them in a routine, they will lay eggs usually in the mornings before noon. And about noon, when we think they're all about done laying, in the nest boxes in the coop. Now they're free to go out into the run, but they're still confined in that run where the coop is. About noon, we find that most of them's done laying for the day. Then we turn them out to free range from about noon until about dark. And about dark, they start funneling back in that run because they know where the roost bar is in there and where to go to sleep. So, but we lock them up at night. And since we've been locking our chickens up at night, I can count on one hand how many chickens we've lost to predators. Now, we lost one to predators maybe about 2 months ago. At the bottom of the test plot down here, a hawk got it. And I heard the commotion, and by the time I came up here, the hawk had picked it up and tried to carry it so far and dropped it, and the hawk was sitting up in a tree, and naturally when I approached, the hawk flew off. So the dogs wasn't up here. The dogs were back there with the sheep. That's one reason we're looking for another Pyrenees puppy to put in with Wayah and retire Oakley to just chicken duty. Really easy to do. So, but the dogs were back there, the chickens were up here, and a hawk got a chicken. And I do not understand why hawks, red-tailed hawks, are still on the endangered species or protected list. That is absolutely ridiculous. Those things are a dime a dozen around here. Every day I see red-tailed hawks around here. And the reason we've not lost any more chickens is, number one, because of our dogs, and number two, coons and possums and foxes and bears and bobcats. We keep our chickens locked up at night when most predators are on the prowl. So, speaking of predators, all those Katahdin and St. Croix just laying back there in their paddock in this cooler morning chewing their cud. Happy as can be. Sheep are enjoying their day back there. And our two livestock guardian dogs are just right down here below them. Just a little ways out of the camera sight, but they're laying right down there just watching up there at those sheep, Oakley and Wayah. And I'm telling you, if it wasn't for those livestock guardian dogs, we wouldn't have a sheep left, we wouldn't have a chicken left on this farm. This area is just crawling with predators, especially at night. And here lately, we've had a predator around the farm, some midday and late evenings. I've not seen it any of the mornings. We've had a bear hanging around pretty regular lately, and that's not uncommon. We have a few black bears that come along, and yes, it's a black bear. We are on the East Coast. We're not in grizzly country or nothing like that. And so far, he's not bothered anything. I'm 99% sure it's a young male boar, or a boar, probably a teenager. In talking about, you know, human type years. Of course, I'm not comparing humans to bears, but age-wise, I'm saying kind of like a teenager in age. And he's going to be a big boy if he keeps growing and nothing happens to him. He's going to be a big one. He's already pretty good size for his age. Now, I've seen a lot bigger black bears than this one. I mean, a lot. But if you look at this one, the broader chest and the narrow hind end, it's obviously a boar. And the longer legs, he's real leggy. And he probably a teenager, and if he can continue to grow for a couple more years, man, he's going to be a whopper because he's got the frame to go with it. But anyway, he's been hanging around the farm, not like come out here every day and see him, but occasionally. And just so happened the other day, he posed really good for our trail camera that's mounted right down here. That's right along, matter of fact, it's mounted to a perimeter fence post, and he posed at it good. I've seen him come up to the fence and just look like, how can I get through that fence? And turns, and I don't know if my camera's set to only take so long of a video, and I don't know at that point if the dog starts wind him or spot him and start barking and he scatters and goes on back into the woods. But he's walked around our pastures more than once. And a young boar, black bear, is the ones a lot of times it'll be a nuisance. That'll cause problems, especially around livestock. And it's almost like he's looking up toward our sheep flock like, it's kind of like somebody walking by a donut shop and looking in the window going, man, I'd like to have one of them donuts. Not caused any problems yet. Matter of fact, I do not believe that he's even penetrated our perimeter fence, which that fence is doing its job. But our dogs, I think, is the main reason. If those dogs weren't in there barking and patrolling, I think he would have done dug under the fence or something, climbed over it or whatever. But because of those dogs, I done a video not long ago on the importance of a livestock guardian dog if you have livestock on your farm. And I'll put a link to that video at the end of this one. All you'll have to do is go up here and click on it, and it'll take you straight to that video. But I'll insert the video of that bear looking in our fences here. I'm convinced the sheer number of predators we have around here, especially coyotes, they outnumber everything else. We have coyotes regularly on our trail camera. I'll put a few pictures or videos here. And we have an increasing population of bobcats. Bobcats are making appearances around our farm a lot more regular than normal. Usually black bears around our farm is not a problem. They just pass through and go on mind their business. They eat acorns and apples out of the apple tree and things of that nature, and they're usually not a problem. But this particular teenage boar seems to be a little too intrigued looking in our fences. So I'm gonna keep the patrols up a little better, along with our farm employees, Wayah and Oakley, to keep those sheep safe. I don't think he's gonna bother anything, but I don't want him to keep coming to the fence and looking and go, maybe I can get in there. Keep those dogs on high alert. 2 evenings ago, it was about an hour before dark, and me and Susan were both in the house, and Wayah and Oakley were just barking their heads off back here in the field. Just barking, barking, barking. And if you know how a Pyrenees protects livestock, they bark a lot. But Oakley was barking too. It started out this Wayah barking a lot, which is, you know, if she catches wind of a coyote down in the woods, she'll start barking some. A dog's sense of smell is mind-boggling compared to a human's, how good it is. But then Oakley started barking too, and Oakley usually does not bark unless something is close. And I got out of the house, got my shoes on, and came back out through the yard and walked over toward where I could see in the back pasture. And I didn't see anything at that moment, but Wayah and Oakley were both down next to the wood line, and they were both hackles on the back of their necks. They were both just pacing that fence, barking, barking, barking. Oakley with a low growl and then bark, and a low growl, Wayah growling and barking. And at that moment, I didn't know. I thought, well, maybe a coyote got too close. I'd say it's that black bear. He's been hanging around pretty regularly. And Wayah and Oakley let that dude know, inside this fence, you're not welcome. This is our territory. So everything ended. The dogs pushed, more than likely, that bear out, because earlier that evening I got where that video came from. So he was around, and he's been around since. So far, so good. Everything's working. But today we're going to be doing some maintenance on our tractor before we start these last second cuts. And one thing that's bothered me for recently about a tractor and baling hay, just get on YouTube or any kind of search engine and search hay baler fires and tractor fires. It seems like there's more equipment catches on fire in hay baling than anything. And that's an issue. It's been on my mind for about a year now, and I'm just now getting around to it. You might say, well, it wasn't bothering you too bad, you wouldn't have waited so long. That's how forgetful my mind is sometimes. I've got a fire extinguisher. Now this is a white one. It's designed for marine or auto use. It'll be just fine for the tractor. I'd like to have a little bigger canister, so probably soon I'll buy a bigger one. It is a dry chemical fire extinguisher, and it is a 5BC classification. Where to mount a fire extinguisher on your tractor? Tractor manufacturers need to include a fire extinguisher on those machines when you buy one. There should be a dedicated mounting space for a fire extinguisher on a tractor. You're out here in this hay and you're dealing with dry hay, and you're running a baler through it, a tractor through it, hot exhaust, warming parts, that baler getting hot in places. If something, a bearing went bad while you was baling, and that bearing builds up a lot of heat, and that baler's rolling that dry hay in there, next thing you know, you see smoke coming out of that baler, and it catches fire, and then it spreads to your tractor. I mean, I don't mean to sound gloom and doom, but what could happen is reality. It could. Just do a little searching on hay baler fires and tractor fires. Man, there's some out there, then there's some of them scary looking. I mean, a ball of flames like you wouldn't believe in no time. Why tractor manufacturers don't include a dedicated fire extinguisher on a new unit and a mounting bracket attached to go with that tractor is beyond me. And since there's not, I'm gonna be putting my own on. But if any of these tractor manufacturer people that work there, whatever, from Kubota, Deere, Massey Ferguson, TYM, the list goes on, Coyote, LS, whoever, put a dedicated fire extinguisher on those new units. I don't know of any that's got one on it when you buy a new tractor. I've went and looked at new tractors, and I've yet to see or notice a fire extinguisher mounted on any of them. Or maybe the manufacturer or the dealer keeps the tank in the building so it don't sit out in the weather, but I've not even seen a bracket to mount one. So if anybody's listening, and I know I'm just a drop in a grain of sand on the beach of millions and billions, but in my opinion probably don't matter that much to them, but put a fire extinguisher on these tractors. It could save a lot of property and possibly even a life. So for very cheap, you can buy a dedicated fire extinguisher. They're not that expensive. And if a tractor manufacturer could buy them in bulk and get them really cheap. Where are we going to mount this? I'm not sure. That's a topic of today that we're going to look into. Where can we mount this thing? Do we mount it up here on the loader? Do we mount it back here on the ROPS? Where do we mount it? I'm leaning toward on the ROPS somewhere. Because number one, I put a new canopy. Lola says that's right, get you a fire extinguisher. Because we mounted a new Tailtrax canopy on our tractor, and that way that fire extinguisher will be up in there in the dry. If I have to leave the tractor sitting out overnight or for a few days doing hay or whatever I'm doing, that fire extinguisher would stay up there in the dry, out of the weather. So I'm leaning that way, somewhere that it'll be protected under that canopy. So let's start trying to figure out how we're going to do this. One way I'm going to do it that I'm thinking of, and I don't know if this will work, I just bought some buckles. You can see them, just little snap buckles, okay, and some 1 inch, or maybe it's 3/4 strap material, okay, and that way I can just wrap it around something, tighten it down to hold that mounting bracket for that fire extinguisher around something. And I may have to have more than one. I only fixed one for now, and if I put one on it and the fire extinguisher wants to do like that, I may have to make up another one and put on it also. So let's see where we mount this thing. Okay, I am leaning towards the ROPS to mount it. That way it would be under cover. And you know what? That's going to fit right in between those bolts where that ROPS, or I think that might work. Where we mounted the canopy, right there. And it would be up under the edge of that canopy, out of the rain and the weather. Let's just see if this might work. We got it mounted on the ROPS, or roll bar. It is mounted, it's pretty steady. We will see how well it does there. Easily accessible from the left side of the tractor where the step is. When you jump off, you can get it really easy. Okay, the fire extinguisher's mounted. And why tractors don't have a fire extinguisher on them from the manufacturer, and I had never thought a whole lot about that until recently. The last 6 months, I've been thinking about a fire extinguisher, and I'm just now getting around to doing it. These things are to be on these tractors from the factory. For what you pay for a new tractor, this day and time in 2026 and going forward, tractors are not cheap. Even the little subcompact ones, they're not cheap. And the least that should be on them should be a fire extinguisher mount, and a fire extinguisher in that mount somewhere on the tractor. Okay, let's move on. I'm convinced one of the most overlooked maintenance, or just checking fluids before you go out and cut hay or do work with your tractor, checking the engine oil and the hydraulic fluid is pretty standard. Lots of people forget to ever check the gear oil or fluid in your front axle. Man, I'm telling you, front axle problems can be a serious problem with especially a four-wheel drive tractor. And the more you use it in four-wheel drive. Here on our property is slow, about all sloped. So we use four-wheel drive a lot. There's times we don't. Sometimes tedding, I put it in two-wheel drive. If I can, I put it in two-wheel drive. But most of the time when I've got an implement behind it, and that only been a 32 horsepower tractor, four-wheel drive helps me from sliding down hills, the hay baler pushing me off a hill, the hay rake pushing me, whatever. So four-wheel drive is very, very handy and very necessary on our farm because of the slope of our ground. Four-wheel drive tractor with a loader on the front, especially if you're doing loader work, that weight on that front axle is wearing it faster, than a tractor without a loader or doing no front end loader work. So, or using it in four-wheel drive a lot. Check your fluid level in your front axle regularly. Check it. You might not have to check it as much as you would engine oil. The change intervals on my Kubota is once every 400 hours. That seems a little excessive to me. Maybe not. Kubota knows better than I do. Their engineers are a lot smarter than me. But I do know this, and I've heard this from people that own four-wheel drive tractors. If you use, you're not gonna be buzzing me. If you use four-wheel drive very much, check the level in that front axle. Some people put hydraulic fluid in their front axle. Some people put gear oil, and I think either is fine. We run 80 weight 90 gear oil in our front axle. And the more you use that in four-wheel drive, the more loader work you do, whatever, check the level, because it can go down. You can fill it up at a change and run it 80 hours, 100 hours, check it again, and it'll be a little bit low. Where does it go? I don't know. I do not know. I ain't going to pretend to know, because I never see it dripping or nothing like that. But sometimes you can check that level and it's went down some, and you'll need to top it off. Keep good level of fluid or gear oil in that front axle. It'll make the life of your axle, your front axle, last longer. So we're going to check it. Come along with us. Now, a lot of this may be very specific to a Kubota. If you have a Deere, TYM, Massey Ferguson, it may be very different, but we're going to show you what we do on our Kubota. Right here's the fill port on this Kubota, and it's a 27 millimeter. And what I'm going to do is just crack this open so the axle can breathe a little bit. Now, it's broke loose. I'm not taking it out. Okay, I'm going to leave this wrench here. Right here, in about the same place as the fill port, is a check plug. And when you change the oil in this axle, you fill it up until oil starts coming out this check port. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to loosen this check port. Okay. We're going to pull it out and see if any oil. I've got a catch pan there. All right, and it does have a brass crush washer. Make sure you get that off. Okay, nothing is coming out, which means we need to add some gear oil. We need to add gear oil till it starts coming out that port. And I'm adding 80 weight 90 gear oil. And I'm gonna add it until it starts coming out the fill port over there. And if you get down here and look up under the tractor, you can see when it starts spilling out over there, indicating it's full. Okay, it's took almost a whole quart. They was maybe an eighth out of this quart that I had put in the hay rake. And it's still not spilling out over there. All right, to keep any debris from going in there while I go get some more oil, I'm just going to lightly put the plugs back in. I'm back from the parts store. It's been about 30 minutes, 20 minutes, somewhere in there. All right, I've added about 3/4 of a quart. All right, we added about 1/4 of a quart, and it's starting to drip on the other side. So we should be good. So that was about 1 quart if you added it all up. Okay, let's put our fill port plug back in. And let's go to the other side and look at it. See it? It's running out. Okay, let's put the plug in. We should be good. Okay, let's re-tighten our fill port. front axle gear oil's been checked, and it's good. You can see since my last service on that front axle, it's been almost, let me look to make sure, almost 200 hours. And the interval for maintenance on it, changing that gear oil or fluid, whichever you put in it, is 400 hours according to Kubota. And it's been almost 200 hours, and I just had to add about a quart to get it up full, back to full. So it's took about 200 hours worth of most of the time being in four-wheel drive to get it down that low. And it popped back into my mind, I need to check my front axle fluid, because that thing don't have a dipstick. It's not got a dipstick where you, a little handle sticking up to remind you. It's very easy to forget, because all you've got some plugs up there. It's very easy just to walk by, baling hay, doing whatever, and not think nothing of it. Check your front axle fluids. Front axle failures, I don't want to say are common nowadays on more modern tractors, but they happen more than they should. And a front axle goes bad, bearings and everything else that's in it. I'm not an axle expert, but that front axle goes bad, and that's an expensive repair. 10 minutes to check it at least, and if you're like me, you have to run to the parts store and get some more oil. Might take a little longer, but really filling it back up to the full mark's easy. You just pull a plug and then the fill plug and put oil in it till it runs out that fluid level plug. You know you're full. Put the plugs back in and you're done. It's that simple. And the fire extinguisher, man, I'm telling you, you might go your whole life baling hay and never have a baler, tractor incident, nothing like that catch on fire. And I pray that you don't. You might go your whole career on a tractor, your whole life, and never have a fire. But the one time that somebody does, man, you're going to wish you had one of these on your tractor. A fire extinguisher. I plan on never going without a fire extinguisher on my tractor from now on. I've seen too many videos of balers out in a field just engulfed in flames and black smoke and white smoke just rolling off of them, burning to the ground. And then it spreads to the tractor, and the back part of the tractor's on fire too. I mean, just that hydraulic fluid spews up onto the tractor, and the next thing you know, the tractor's on fire too. Whereas if you had a fire extinguisher, you could put at least that baler out and salvage the baler, hopefully. If it burns the baler too bad, you can at least salvage parts off of it and save your tractor, whatever the case may be. I've never heard of a small 2x2 round baler catching fire. Now, has it happened? I don't know. I sure have seen larger balers like 4x5s and 5x5, 6x5 round balers catching on fire. And I've heard of tractors catching on fire. So regardless if the little balers are hardly ever catch on fire, I want to be prepared just in case they do, and to keep it from spreading to my tractor. Or if my tractor catches on fire for some reason, an electrical component or whatever goes bad, sparks and catches something on fire, I can quickly put that fire out before much more damage is done to save my tractor. Thanks for being with us today. I really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you seeing me put a fire extinguisher on my tractor kind of makes you start thinking, should I put one on mine? Think about it. We're working in dry hay. If you make dry hay, you're working in dry hay, you're working with equipment. It's got bearings rolling, things of that nature, that a bearing could go bad, run out of grease on it, you forget to grease something, and it gets hot, 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 and some of that really dry hay gets against it, and the next thing you know, your baler's got smoke rolling all out from around the chamber. your tractor having an electrical issue and start smoking, catching on fire, think about putting a fire extinguisher on your tractor. I think it's a good idea. And hopefully mine sits there and never gets used, but it's there if I need it. Thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it. Oh, don't forget your front axle. Thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it, and I pray God blesses you and your family. And we pray y'all have a fantastic day.